Hi, everyone. Welcome to our presentation called Are We Still Teaching English? Questioning Translanguaging in EFL Contexts. My name is Jan Dormer.
And I am Adriana Schmidt. All right, what is translanguaging? It is the act performed by bilinguals of accessing different linguistic features of various modes of what are described as autonomous languages. Ophelia likes to say that it's the deployment of a speaker's full linguistic repertoire when they resort to whatever they have to make communication effective. And what is translanguaging pedagogy? It's the use and encouragement of translanguaging inside the classroom.
Yes, and the main research for this, the main context where we see translanguaging emerging now is in English medium general education of language minority students, and those are all terms that we will revisit soon in our presentation. So the origin and purpose of translanguaging, first of all, code switching is a term that we are probably all familiar with, and that is nothing new. There has probably been code switching going on as long as there have been bilingual people. So that concept is not necessarily a new one. What is new is its use in instruction, its purposeful and desired use in instruction. Williams was one of the first ones to kind of pioneer this this kind of pedagogy using two languages. He wanted to use Welsh and English together in the classroom for learning purposes. And then later, translanguaging as the English term was popularized by Baker. And this all dates back to around the 1980s in its origin. It's important to remember that translanguaging pedagogy comes out of a context of social justice, not necessarily from a context of SLA or second language acquisition. It does bring value to multilingualism, to bilingualism and multilingualism. It does bring a needed challenge to the perspective of monolingual superiority and monolingual goals. It challenges those perspectives in a good and helpful way. Another thing that translanguaging might do is to correct English-only perspectives. This notion that English is superior or should only be used in all contexts. It kind of challenges that perspective. Though proponents of translanguaging pedagogy cite its potential also to facilitate creative and critical thinking.
Yes. And when it comes to the learning context of English, we have especially in bilingual courses, bilingual programs, majority versus minority contexts. And the question that won't go away, is the L1 a risk in these contexts, in those contexts where we are translanguaging in the classroom? So there is this wide ranging of language learning, ESL, EFL, they have different purposes, but ESL and EFL are mostly language learning. And bilingual education brings the content to the scenario. So the content is also important in bilingual education. And in which of these three contexts are students more exposed to target language? And what are the purposes, the different purposes of these three contexts? So translanguaging and translanguaging pedagogy are a natural phenomenon, are a natural occurrence with bilinguals, or we are trying to force something that is not that natural into the context, only with the purpose of social justice. We need to be fair here. What are the goals within the bilingual communities and with English monolinguals?
Yes, so there are a lot of different English learning contexts, and we come back down to the final point here on this slide of what are the student goals? What are we trying to prepare them for? And so I'm going to kind of give a little bit of background about where the research is at right now, we think. There is little research on translanguaging in EFL contexts, especially in those contexts where we're talking about language majority students trying to learn a second language. And there's just little research on it. There is very little research on actual second language acquisition outcomes. We could find no comparative studies comparing translanguaging approaches with other approaches for the purpose of second language acquisition in EFL contexts. So those studies do not appear to have been done yet. It is a new and emerging field. Existing research, the research we do find, focuses a lot on perspectives. For example, here's an example of an article, Translanguaging in EFL Classrooms, Teachers' Perceptions and Practices. So this has gathered, kind of what teachers do and what they think about it, but not necessarily the efficacy of it. And also existing research is very highly contextualized, perhaps limiting the ability to transfer that research to other contexts. For example, I was very excited when a book came out with the title Translanguaging in EFL Contexts, A Call for Change, and that is by Rabbage. But it turns out that book is solely about the Korean elementary context. So we question, how applicable is that in Brazil, for example? So this is kind of where the state of the research.
Each context.
Yes, right now.
Yeah, sorry.
No.
Each context is so different and so particular that sometimes it's impossible to transfer one experience to a different country depending on the features of the programs.
Yes.
Yeah. Here in Brazil, the goals for the use of translanguaging or a methodology like translanguaging would be equipping students to interact with their global English-speaking community. Will translanguaging help the students to reach this goal? That's the question. We have a challenge that is providing enough English input for successful SLL. So will students speak proficient, consistent English using translanguaging as a methodology of learning English? That is a very important question. Yes. The problem that is not only ours is the lack of comprehensible input. Of course, it passed through the quality of teachers, educators, the quality of material, the quality of resources, alignment of resources, and everything has to be put on the table and check if it fits with translanguaging pedagogy. What is the solution for all these problems? The $1 million solution. Yes. Make English comprehensible, align productive tasks with language levels. We really need to check what are the levels for real, the levels of English of our students. We need to be honest and see, are they speaking consistent English or are they not? Mm-hmm. There are some limitations. There are some space for the use of L1. For example, relationship building between teachers and students, expressing emotions when the students are not feeling quite well. The teacher could resort to L1, but not with the whole group, only with those students. There would be a particular interaction. For scaffolding, for skill learning, and grammar explanations, but only in the beginner levels of learning.
Yes.
Because as the students grow with their language learning, they need to switch to the sole target language.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And so in conclusion, we would say that translanguaging pedagogy could be a slippery slope in many EFL contexts. Overuse of the first language is already a tendency. Encouraging translanguaging merely increases that tendency, providing little return. Much more research is needed in order to know the extent to which translanguaging in the EFL classroom actually strengthens or inhibits second language acquisition.
Yes. So these are our main references. Of course, there are lots of other articles, books, and works that we have been researching and reading, but education, multilingualism, and translanguaging in the 21st century is a well-known work from Garcia and her colleagues, and also the translanguaging origins and development from school to street and beyond. So these are the two works we have been researching, but there are many more others around there we've been reading.
Yes, and we have some questions that we will be talking about in our discussion time. Thank you for watching this.